As the journey to the Rise of Skywalker has reached its end, it's time to give you my thoughts on the Rise of Skywalker. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a cinematastic day. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema, and before we get into my thoughts, I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. Was it good, was it bad, or was it just somewhere in between? How well did it end out the franchise? As always, make sure to like this video if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss on my Star Wars ranking and many more videos that are coming on the way as we get into the best of, worst of, and biggest surprises of 2019 that I'll be getting by the end of the month. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is a concluding chapter of the Skywalker Saga, and it just wraps up everything we're supposed to do, and it covers the story of Finn, Rey, and Poe as they complete their arcs, as well as Kylo Ren as he reigns to be the supreme leader of the First Order. And without getting into spoilers, that's all I can really cover based on what goes on throughout the movie. Starting with the positives, this is an enjoyable Star Wars adventure. Once again, you can't really go wrong with a Star Wars movie. I really enjoy all of them as a whole. So this just had another fun journey. It had a fun adventure within, finding different things. It had different sort of stories hidden within that were each enjoyable in their own way. And Rey now joining up with Poe and Finn, for the first time, is really well portrayed in the way she's put into that group and added into that group. And there's a couple other side characters that aren't giving a ton of backstory, but they're given some story that adds to Finn and Poe's arc that we haven't heard before, how they ended up getting into the position they are now, what some of their past backstory was, and it was fun to get some of that added into the mix. And the nostalgia moments that you get, that they do some fan service for you, are just really fun and enjoyable, really bring a smile to my face. And just the way they execute that and the way John Williams' score is added into the movie is really well done. Moving on to the negatives, my biggest gripe with this film is that I was inclined to watch it again, or should I say the reason why I was so inclined to watch it again, because part of that is I was just kind of disappointed with the direction they took with it. Some of the story felt convoluted, too busy. They were trying to cover too many different story arcs while also retconning certain things from The Last Jedi. And it didn't bother me in the sense that because I'm a Last Jedi lover, that I completely could not change the fact that they could change those certain moments and retcon certain ideas from The Last Jedi. I wasn't offended by any of those different little aspects of the film, but the way they execute that takes up too much time and too much effort that it almost feels like they should have wrapped this up within 2 films, because they're trying to cover too much things while also retconning things from the last one. And the last one could have set up at least a little if they continued the direction they were trying to take with The Last Jedi. And unfortunately, the way Disney planned out this franchise was not present, as it's kind of obvious that even though The Force Awakens was really good, The Last Jedi was really good, in my personal opinion, it just didn't end up to creating a much satisfying conclusion to the franchise, or conclusion to this trilogy. The conclusion to this trilogy was much better, and it was still, I could still understand the direction it took. I thought it was good, but as the conclusion to the whole Skywalker saga, it didn't feel any more fresh or more unique, to where the point I felt really satisfied by where they are taking it. It still felt there could have been more story to it still, with how they wrap up some of the story arcs, how they wrap up some of the characters, because it still sort of felt like they left me hanging with something that could still happen from this, but also with the way the story was so busy with all these different things it was trying to complete and the vision that J.J. Abrams was trying to capture, it just didn't seem to really land super well with. And though I enjoyed the side characters that they added in enough, they sort of feel out of place for this being a conclusion to the saga, because you're getting all these added characters that add a nice touch and explain a little bit more to Poe and Finn's backstory, to add a little bit more arc of where they came from. But overall, it's a little distracting from this film because we're having to explore these new characters that we don't get enough to be satisfied with their roles in the end of the saga, because they're just now introducing them and it doesn't really create a start or finish to their personal arc into the saga. And in quite a few times, it's going to be quite reminiscent of some other Star Wars movies, other Star Wars scenes from those movies, and it's not in a way of presenting nostalgia in the way that it should be. It's just sort of copying some of those certain scenes in different ways, resembling certain scenes in different ways, that doesn't create the right effect for me, because it should be trying to be fresh, should be trying to find a way to be unique enough to say this is the conclusion to the Star Wars franchise. So overall, while it's another fun Star Wars adventure to add to the Skywalker saga, it just doesn't land well in the end with some of the disappointing aspects of the film, and therefore I have to rate it simply 6.5 out of 10. And those were my personal thoughts. Love to hear yours down in comments below. Were you just as disappointed? Were you even more disappointed about it than me? Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Make sure to check out these videos on the right hand side of the screen. Pretty soon I'll be ranking all 11 Star Wars films from the worst to the best, so don't miss them. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll be back for more movie reviews, rankings, and more.